PR and the Law. My name is Diana Khan, and today we will be talking to two different clients in which an attorney represented at the same time, and they had a conflict of interest. The attorney proceeded to represent both without getting a written consent to do so. Let's go to Nadia Cheatham for more.
Thank you, Diana. Today, I am standing in front of the University of Baltimore School of Law. Most of our viewers would assume that an attorney who does not properly identify all conflicts of interest in the matter would be a rookie mistake, but it wasn't to Mr. Regis Smallprint of P&R Law Firm. Instead, the firm became so successful that with time, the top attorney at the firm began to lose sight of the internal policies. P&R and the law sat down with all parties involved. We spoke to both of the CEOs of Lawn and Order, a property maintenance company, and lawn enforcement lawn care. And we wanted to see how it made them feel. So let's see what they have to say.
My name is Allie Bloom, and I'm the CEO of Lawn and Order, the #1 law care provider in Baltimore City.
And how long have you used P&R Law Firm for your legal needs?
Oh, forever. P&R Law Firm provides some of the best attorneys in the state, especially Mr. Regis Smallprint. We have become such great friends. He was one of the first people I sought after when building the company from the ground up. He helped us form our LLC when our company was very small. We often relied on him for our transactional litigation needs.
But what happened?
Well, one day, our top employee left to go work with lawn enforcement. Our employment contract contains a 1-year non-complete clause because we are the only 2 providers of lawn services in the Baltimore area. Protection of our customers and client lists is a must. Those dirty rats have been trying to run us out of business for years. We approached Mr. Smallprint and asked him to advise us regarding an injunction against lawn enforcement. Mr. Smallprint said sure, but later that night he called and told me he couldn't do it anymore and couldn't assist me with the injunction because his company also had lawn enforcement as a client.
Did you know that P&R Law Firm had any relations with law enforcement?
No, but I wish I had known. Our company is one of only 7 in the entire state of Maryland to offer these unique lawn services. It should have been clear to Mr. Smallprint that both companies would have many conflicting interests. We have also competed for customers with lawn enforcement throughout the years.
So what happened after he told you that he could no longer represent you?
Well, we reported Mr. Smallprint, unfortunately. I didn't want to. He's so darn cute. But it would have been nice to know earlier that he couldn't represent us. We lost 2 clients a month after the employees left, and the clients took their business to law enforcement shortly afterwards. My daughter goes to school with Mr. Smallprint's daughter, Rose. I felt terrible, but what else could I do?
Right. I understand. I'm so sorry that this happened to you. I hope that there's a resolution for you on this matter. Thank you for taking the time to
You're
talk to me.
welcome. Thank you.
As you can see, Diana, forgetting to obtain written confirmation and representing clients who may have conflicts of interest can be detrimental to an attorney. Let's see how Graham, CEO of Lawn Enforcement, felt.
I felt terrible when I heard that Mr. Smallprint had been reported. He was very straightforward with me and my company, Lawn Enforcement Lawn Care, about the development of the conflict of interest. Mr. Smallprint had represented my company for years in employment disputes, and I hadn't anticipated that he might similarly represent other landscaping companies in the same capacity. It must be a terribly difficult position for Mr. Smallprint to be in. Given our history, I'd love for Mr. Smallprint to represent me in this matter. But obviously Mr. Smallprint cannot represent both parties in the litigation, and the CEO of Lawn and Order would like to retain Mr. Smallprint as well. Since the litigation has not yet begun, hopefully myself and the Lawn and Order company will be able to find representation in this matter. However, I wish the issue had been brought to the attention of both companies sooner so that we could have avoided this conflict and hadn't needed to report the attorney.
As you can see, if an attorney represents 2 clients without first checking if they have a conflict of interest, they could face penalties and sanctions. We also sat down with Carissa Hatfield from the University of Baltimore to see how to prevent these things and how to be able to handle clients better. Let's go to Nadia Cheatham for more.
Thank you, Diana. I am here at the University of Baltimore with Carissa Hatfield, who is a professor in professional responsibility. Professor Hatfield originally hails from the Woodlands, Texas, and graduated from the University of Baltimore School of Law in 1995. She clerked for several judges and has also worked at the Attorney General's office and a firm prior to joining the staff here at UB. Hello, Professor Hatfield.
Hi.
Thank you for talking to us today. Can you tell us a little bit more about the professional rules of conduct and what conflicts of interest are, and how to determine if you can represent a client who may have a conflict of interest with a current client.
Sure. Conflicts of interest are covered in the American Bar Association's Model Rules of Professional Conduct, Rule 1.7. The rule states that an attorney or firm cannot represent two parties that are either directly adverse to one another or two parties where there's a significant risk that the attorney or firm's representation of those parties will be what we call materially limited by the representation of both. That is, that the representation will be compromised in some way. However, an attorney or firm can still represent both parties if they believe they can provide diligent, competent service to both clients, if it's not against the law to represent both clients, or the clients are not facing off against each other in litigation, and most importantly, if the client or firm gets written consent from both parties to represent the other. Here, while it is possible that Mr. Smallprint could have provided diligent and competent services to both parties, he would have been better off getting a consent from both parties so that he wouldn't run into this type of problem.
And why do you think it's so important to get written consent, even if an attorney is not representing people who would need legal advice or counsel on the same legal issue?
Conflict avoidance is important because of the potential that conflicts of interest, in addition to their negative impact on profitability, may result in professional discipline, liability litigation, and embarrassment for the firm. It is far easier to deal with a possible conflict of interest before the firm commits itself, its resources, and its reputation to an engagement it should never have undertaken in the first place. The conflicts most likely lead to litigation with clients, loss of business, or even professional discipline include those in which the results sought or economic interest represented are potentially adverse to the results sought or economic interest desired in another matter by another client.
In each of these situations, it would be easy for one client to perceive that the lawyer favored the other client at the first client's expense. Thus, a complaint, claim, or bar grievance is more likely to occur when one or more of these factors is present. I understand that Mr. Regis Smallprint and P&R Law Firm knew the rules, and they thought that they were doing a good job in keeping track of their clients. What, if anything, would you recommend for the firms to do so that they can prevent this from happening?
As conflicts of interest pose serious threats to the firm should have a written policy that no client or matter will be accepted or handled by the firm or its attorneys without a thorough check for conflicts of interest. The firm should designate a partner or committee to deal with issues involving conflicts of interest and to oversee the administration of the policies and procedures regarding conflicts. If it's an individual partner, the firm should also designate a backup to handle conflicts issues when the partner primarily responsible is not available.
Thank you. This is all great advice. Is there anything that you have seen firms do that would stand out to you?
The firm should maintain in its computer a database of all former and current clients. When a prospective client or case is being considered, the name of the new client, the adverse party, and other related parties should be run through the system to make former and current clients. Lastly, if a company should have a method to make all the other attorneys alert of new clients. Typically, this can be done by means of a daily or weekly prospective new client memo that is circulated among the firm's attorneys.
Great. Thank you so much for your time. Back to you, Diana.
Thank you, Nadia, for that informative conversation with Carissa. Thank you for joining us today at PR and the Law, and we'll see you next week.